What's up, y'all? Welcome to this week's edition of ThronesWatch. My name's Kyle Luke, along with me, of course, Jamal Andrus. Today, we're going to talk about the fall of Team Stannis, the rise of Ser Jorah, and the questionable security detail at the fighting pits.
If we could just dive right into the security thing. This is the Queen of Meereen. She is the end-all, be-all. Like, how exactly does she get the Lincoln treatment? Like, it's just ridiculous.
I'm really confused because you have to know there's going to be the Sons of Harpy are just hanging all around Meereen right now, and you would think that at, the biggest spectacle of what I'm assuming is the calendar year of Meereen, this enormous battle of the fighting pits, there might be a couple more security people there.
Also, I might add, whoever is making these masks, let's find them and lock them up. Because there's a guy who's like just selling these masks out the back of his hut, and he's just making a killing. And if you can just trace this to the guy who's selling the masks, we're good.
Less sword, less slicing and dicing, maybe a little more detective gumshoe work.
Now, Gumshoes, here's your mission.
On who's actually creating the Sons of Harpy masks. Maybe start there. The one nice thing that the lack of security detail did give us at the fighting pits was it did lead to the triumphant return of Ser Jorah defending his queen's honor and proving his loyalty and his worth. And what was arguably the biggest, moment of the entire episode, the dagger going flying, or the spear going past Dany whenever you realized that the Sons of Harpy attack was on. So should we talk about dragons? Because I know we love dragons.
But I mean, we have to talk about dragons, don't we?
Go for it.
So, Dany finally kind of has a reuniting moment, and a pleasant one, actually. With her dragons, and we're not particularly sure whether the dragon was summoned, whether the Targaryen has a Stark thing, like the whole possessing another animal and kind of bringing him into the fighting pits when you needed him. We're not really sure, but triumphant entrance for our dragon, and finally, she's using the muscle that she's had all this time. Like, all this ruling and politics has just gotten away from badass dragon action.
Yeah, could not have put it any better myself. And watching her slowly walk to the dragon, it seemed like, everything started to click. That this is my world, this is going to be my kingdom, and these are my dragons. She hops aboard the dragon and flies away, and then just leaving Tyrion completely awestruck at what has just taken place. This totally won't happen, but I'd be perfectly fine if she just rode that dragon all the way to King's Landing and just wreaked hell upon everyone right there.
By herself. Her and her dragon. Just kind of a flyover.
Good with that. Yeah, just quick flyover, and then we could circle back,
come back
around, go scoop up Tyrion, and then go back for more.
And if we could touch on really quickly, and it seems that Tyrion and the others that were left in the fighting pits when she had her kind of, Free Willy moment, and she left the fighting pits.
The greatest adventure of the summer.
It seems like they were still in trouble, but they're fine in the previews for the next episode, so, whatever. But, she kind of left, and there were still plenty of Sons of Harpy that were still alive. Yeah. I think we should kind of explain that, don't you?
I do too. I feel like we're left to believe that the threat has been mitigated, but it still seemed like there were a lot of dudes with knives and masks still kind of hanging around there. So while the introducing of the dragons was definitely the most epic scene of this last week's episode, we do have to talk about the fall of what we're gonna call Team Stannis here.
Oh, man.
3 weeks ago on this very show, we talked about the character rebuilding of Stannis. I think there's a real character rebuilding of Stannis Baratheon going on here. It's how he was one of the more, seemed to be a favored character in terms of the writing. He was getting really good lines. You saw that emotional, heartwarming moment with his daughter Shireen. Smash cut to last night's episode where Stannis and Melisandre essentially sacrifice his daughter, the princess, to the Lord of Light.
Lord of Light, show us the way!
In what was a heart-wrenching and incredibly difficult scene just to even watch or even hear. Just the sounds of her screaming were just brutal.
Awful.
You know, not really sure. It's definitely been met with some internet backlash today in terms of, you know, how much did they really needed to show of it. This is also not in the books at all. So another example of how far the Game of Thrones creators are willing to go to show just how messed up this whole world is and the toll that it takes and what's required. Also, quick notice, Jamal and I were talking before we got on camera today. I feel like a lot of people on the internet were kind of like, who is this guy that Arya is now obsessed with killing? Well, the answer is, his name is Meereen Trant. If you'll remember, Meereen Trant is the guy who killed Arya's beloved sword instructor way back in season 1, Syrio. He's also the guy who was Joffrey's right-hand bully, essentially. Member of the King's Guard, responsible for terrorizing Sansa in multiple scenes.
And we throw all of that on top of the fact that he's a pedophile. So, Meereen Trant.
Awful person that will hopefully die.
I think we're all rooting for Arya, like, to just knock him off before the season is over. You can just put that in the next hour. That'd be great.
Be more than happy for Arya's first victim of being a faceless man is, you know, the really messed up person that is Meereen Trant. But it'll be interesting to see who all she ends up killing next week.
Yeah. looking forward for her list.
She's got a lot in the queue right now.
Hashtag holding grudges.
Yeah. So last thing that we want to wrap down with is, of course, your favorite weekly video segment, and that's our ThronesWatch power rankings of who currently stands the best chance at capturing the throne of the Seven Kingdoms.
So, we have Dany moving up in the world.
She's got to be number 1. A hard set number 1. The only thing left for Dany now is she kind of has to leave at this point. Meereen is clearly done. Her dragons, she can ride them. You know, she's got her whole crew back together. It's time.
The band is
you're
back
probably
together.
You're ready for her to go a season ago. Now you're ready for just to get on up out of there.
Yeah, I think she's got to wreak havoc in the next hour. Needs to happen.
Absolutely.
You know, Benioff and Weiss, get to it.
Number 2, I'll let you take this. It hasn't changed at all.
Number 2, much like my feelings on Dany moving up in the rankings, the White Walkers cannot move down until something happens. They are a automatic lock for the 2 spot until we see something happen, until we find this like stash of dragon glass.
Yeah.
They are definitely at number 2.
And by White Walkers, we mean the end of the world. As holding it down at number 2.
Exactly. Definitely looking forward to them also wreaking havoc and the winter finally coming.
Right. And then number 3, last week I still kind of feel like anyone beyond those 2, given the developments, is still not necessarily the most pressing threat, but Stannis Baratheon probably is going to be at number 3, given that we saw some clips of, you know, next episode, they're preparing a siege on Winterfell. And historically, Melisandre has been able to, you know, whether or not it was a coincidence or actually the result of her sorcery, has knocked off a few of the other kings fighting for the throne. So we'll see what happens in this next episode after, you know, what was a terrible event.
Ridiculous, terribly awful thing.
So that wraps it up for us on this week's Throne Watch. Reminder, you can get in touch with us in a couple ways. Number 1, tweet at us, at Kyle Luke, at Jamal Andres. Or just tweet along with the hashtag ThronesWatch. We'll be watching. Let us know what you think of the power rankings, and hit us up with your predictions for the season finale. However, I did enjoy some of you completely spoiling the show in the comments section of Facebook. Good times.
We read the comments, guys.
We read every single one of them. Glad to know. All right, have a good one, y'all.